Let's talk about a few drills that we can do with dry fire today. Dry firing is a great way to save money by not using up as much ammo and still get practice on some of your fundamentals. Manipulations, reloads, sight picture, target acquisition, transition between targets, things like that can all be done without actually firing live rounds. Now, when we set up to do this, whether you're on the range or at home, you want to make sure that your targets are in a safe location. We're on a range right now, so my targets are downrange of us. If we're setting this up at home or something, you want to make sure your targets are on a wall where it's safe. You're not through a wall into a bedroom, in your backyard where you're pointing firearms into your neighbor's fences. Make sure you choose a safe backstop for your targets. And the next thing is to make sure that you have no live ammunition with you when you're dry firing. Snap caps and dummy rounds are a great tool to practice manipulations. Do not practice dry fire manipulations with live rounds. In this case, I've got 3 different options with me today. I have a CZ Shadow 2 here. This thing is empty and cleared. I have some plastic dummy rounds that I'm going to be using. Other options, if you don't want to or don't feel comfortable using a live firearm for dry fire, is going to be blue guns or rubber guns. In this case, I've just got a black rubber gun here. That's great for grip, draw stroke, sight picture. The only downside here is I can't manipulate it for things like reloads or get used to my safeties or mag releases. Another option that I really like personally is to have replicas of my own firearms in airsoft. This here is a full weight CZ Shadow 2 airsoft replica, and it's CO2 powered. So I can dry fire in my backyard, in my garage, at smaller targets or little steels and get that feedback, the same manipulation as my firearm if I were live firing, and a tiny bit of recoil because the CO2 is actuating the firearm. So great options, but today we're just going to focus on using dummy rounds or snap caps with your firearm. So let's get that set up. For these drills, I'm going to go ahead and load up my dummy rounds, pop those on my waist, and I'm going to put an empty magazine into my firearm here. I'm going to be working these from the holster today. That way I get repetition on my draw stroke and it's just more practice. The first drill I want to cover is going to be a balance drill. I'm going to take this nickel that I have here. What I'm going to do is balance that on the front side of my firearm. The point of this drill is to work trigger control, right? If I extend this out onto target and I work on breaking that shot without knocking that coin or empty casing or whatever it is I have balanced on my front sight, right? This is a great way to work trigger control so that I'm not jerking the trigger and affecting the muzzle of the gun a whole lot when I'm pulling that trigger. Great option there. Another drill that we can do is just to practice our presentation, right? Establishing a good grip, having a smooth, clean draw stroke, and picking up our sights, whether we're using iron sights or a red dot, picking up our sights as we're presenting the gun towards the target, getting good sight alignment and a good sight picture, and then breaking that trigger without affecting the muzzle. So in this case, with that empty firearm, my target downrange, I just get a good stance. If I was doing this concealed, obviously I would access that gun, clear my clothing out of the way, whatever that is. In this case, I'm outside. So I'd establish good grip, nice, smooth, consistent draw stroke here, and break that shot. Come back and return to my holster. And this is a great way to practice consistency in your draw stroke. And as we work this, that's when speed builds over time, right? We focus on getting that gun oriented to our target and picking up our sights on that presentation. Another option is to work target transitions. Right now, I have 2 targets downrange of me, so I just stepped into the middle of those here. And we can do that same presentation onto our first target, break that shot, and then drive the gun with our hips and arms together, break that second shot, right? Here I'm on my first target, picking up that other target through my peripheral vision, driving the gun over to it from my hips, and getting on target. I'm not swinging the gun around just from my arms and having to realign my body to it I'm not swinging a gun over and bringing my head to it, but I'm picking up my target from my peripheral and then driving the gun straight to it. Great option there for target transitions, multiple targets, things like this. Last thing I want to go over is reload drills, right? So at the beginning here, I loaded that empty magazine. And that is so that I can lock that firearm to the rear, simulating having fired the gun to empty, and now I'm in a position where I need to immediately reload. So with my snap caps here on my waist, I will present the gun as though I had just fired to empty, work through that reload, and break that next shot. It's a great way to work your reloads, get consistent, and build speed on them. Dry firing as a whole is a fantastic tool to build fundamentals and reinforce things when you can't get to the range, when you don't have ammo, or just to stay on top of your skills.